Everybody sees the white screen background again? Give me a thumbs up if that's what you got. Awesome. Okay, and everybody can hear me? So I worked on my sound yesterday, so it should be good to go. I think we just have one video today, and then we'll go through the tobacco marketing history presentation today, which won't take as long as yesterday. So we should have some time at the end to play. You guys played Kahoot before? Yeah, so we'll try out Kahoot. You guys can use your phones or your laptops to log in, and we'll play a quick game of Kahoot at the end if we have time. Sound good? All right, so I'm not going to go through my spiel again of who I work for. You guys met me yesterday. My name is Travis, but we'll get started with the tobacco marketing history presentation today. We'll start with a video. This video is from California Public Health. It's pretty interesting and pretty eye-opening, so we'll get started with that. Can you hear it? We showed these types of products just at a nearby store, and that's the one they found. What is this? All right, so that's pretty interesting video to me because a couple things that they talk about. Normally, if we were in a live presentation, I'd ask you guys a couple questions, but I won't do that over Zoom. But so a couple things I always point out with that video is obviously they're young kids and they were presented all these tobacco products and they had no idea what they were. They kind of thought they were just some candy products. So they're very young. They obviously haven't been necessarily exposed to tobacco products and know what they are. But you can see real quick that they figured out, they started sorting them by certain things. Some of them, the things that they mentioned was, oh, I found an animal. This one has an animal on it. So they started collecting ones that had animals on it because of the packaging, or this one looks cool because of the color of the packaging, or this one smells good, right? So you can see why these kids were attracted to these products, not even knowing what they were. Because tobacco, if you listen there closely, tobacco companies spend over $1 million a day on their advertising. And just to figure out ways, just like I mentioned yesterday, and if you guys watched the video that I sent Ms. Whitmarsh in the beginning, that tobacco executive, the creepy guy, the happy birthday song from yesterday's presentation, that's what they do. They'll spend 40 hours a day to figure out how they can market, 40 hours a week, excuse me, to how they can market towards kids that are your age to get addicted to their product. And as you can see, they start when they're even very young, and they might not necessarily know what they're doing. The kids might not know, but it's that subconscious advertising to be planted in their head. So when they do become old enough, they go and buy their product, and then they become addicted because of the nicotine, and then they have them for most cases, life. It's very hard to quit once you become addicted to nicotine. We do know some people do it, and that's awesome. That's great because it's very hard to do. But some people can't, and that's when the profit goes into the pockets of those big tobacco executives. So speaking of those big tobacco executives, we roll right into this quote that was from an R.J. Reynolds executive. R.J. Reynolds is Marlboro brand. So some of you probably have heard of the Marlboro brand cigarettes. We don't smoke that stuff, we just sell it. We reserve the right to smoke for the young, the poor, the black, and the stupid. And they were actually quoted saying that on a podium in front of an audience. That we reserve the right to smoke for the young, the poor, the black, and the stupid. And they admitted that we don't smoke our product. We just create it for other people to do it because we don't want to become addicted. We know how addictive it is, but we don't mind if you become addicted because that's more money in our pockets, right? So they're flat out saying that they don't use their own product, but they love to make money off it, and they reserve the right to people who are young, the poor, and the stupid to smoke their product, which is a scary statement, I think, and it should alarm some of you. Moving on from that, though, we're obviously going to talk about marketing today. We talked a little bit about yesterday. We'll show some of the pictures that you might see in gas stations and things like that you probably haven't really noticed, but you'll see more of. And then kind of go back to the history of it. This is kind of where it started. When they first started having basically guys in the Army or the Navy, they would, our boys want smoke. The advertisements that they had, complete smokers kit. They had there on the left, you can see $1 for a kit, which includes a French briar pipe, which would be something that they smoke out of, 50 Helmar cigarettes, and a tin stag tobacco. So it includes 3 things, and they get that all for $1 in the whole kit. So they made these things very cheap on purpose because they knew more people would buy them. When something's cheaper, usually, and you have a lot of things in one thing, in one product, you're going to have the high likelihood that someone and more people will buy the product because it's so cheap. And you see there on the right, the $1.50 kit, silver. That one included a silver French briar pipe, 50 Helmar cigarettes, a lighter, and then their tin stag tobacco. So that one had a little bit more for it, but also very cheap. And then if you look at the right from Lorillard, I mentioned that in yesterday's presentation. Lorillard was another major tobacco company. The plums are here to be plucked. So they're talking about you guys. They're talking about young people, and they know it's a little bit easier to take advantage of younger people because they might not be as educated, or they might be just kind of starting out their life, not knowing what to do, and their plums are there to be plucked. So they know exactly what they're doing in targeting the younger generation. And you can see here, obviously, that was a quote that they had written in one of the reports. So if we moved into marketing to women, if you look over at the right, the picture, these are More Light 100s, the beige cigarette. They made them beige on purpose because it was a different kind of color for women to smoke. Because at first, when it wasn't naturally, smoking wasn't naturally kind of accustomed to women. Women kind of developed it a little bit later than men because it was seen as kind of gross. You had to put it up to your lips. So women back then were, you got to remember it was a different time, you know. So women were told to stay in the kitchen, to not go out and get jobs as much, take care of the children and stay in the house, right? Back then, obviously it's different now, but that's how it was back then. And if you, some of you might know, maybe not, that women were actually, for cigarettes, tobacco companies created what's called the beauty tip. And the beauty tip was something that you added on to cigarettes for women to smoke, so that way their lipstick wasn't smeared. So that was a way tobacco companies created cigarettes for women without harming the image of them being beautiful and pretty and neat, right? If you look at the left, some quotes from 1971, some more of the tobacco executives. Some women prefer smaller babies. We talked a little bit about that yesterday and how that was advertised as healthy with smoking cigarettes because you have a smaller baby. So they said some women prefer smaller babies. So why wouldn't you smoke when you're pregnant, right? Big Tobacco says women are a vulnerable population because they lack control over their life, feel vulnerable, and are mainly negative about the future. So they're taking advantage of women because they felt like they didn't have control over their life. They felt vulnerable. They let the men make the decisions. Just remember, it's a different time back then, and this is why they were taken advantage of by the tobacco company. And then we'll show a little video here. This is a tobacco executive, I believe, of Marlboro, talking about how he doesn't believe that his product is necessarily harmful, but you'll see how he kind of twists his words. Just listen closely. So Joseph Coleman was a Philip Morris CEO, which is the head of Marlboro.
Have they been proven to be safe, Mr. Coleman? I believe they have not been proven to be unsafe because brand as in any brand cigarettes.
And you can see how he was questioned about whether or not chemicals inside of the cigarettes were harmful. He believes that, oh, well, I don't believe that they are harmful. He kind of twisted his words. And then at the end, talking about how women would prefer smaller babies. So they kind of, they were hired, they were paid to do that, to kind of twist their words when they're answering to the media. Obviously, the media was a little bit different back then than it is now. That's exactly what they did. So if we move forward, 1996, a major tobacco company planned to boost cigarette sales by targeting homeless people. They called their plan Project Scum, Subculture Urban Marketing. So you can see there, the right is kind of the advertisement that they had. a major tobacco company plans to boost their cigarette sales. So they would actually target homeless people. In some cases, give away cigarettes for free to get them addicted. So then they would lead to them buying their product. So instead of, asking money for food, they might ask for money for cigarettes and go buy their product. And this is people that have basically nothing to their lives. They're homeless. They're out on the street. And they're still addicted to cigarettes, so they're still even buying their product. And they called it Project Scum, which to me is alarming, because you're basically admitting that, oh, well, the homeless people, they're all scum. That's what we'll call our project. What a great name, right? And then marketing to vulnerable populations. So not necessarily just the homeless. Big Tobacco gave free cigarettes to psychiatric facilities. Hispanic men still strive to protect a macho image. So they actually would go to psychiatric facilities, which I'll show you a little bit later on in a video from the Truth Initiative, which you've probably seen some commercials for. We do a lot of work with the Truth Initiative. You've seen probably some of their commercials on TV, and I'll show you an example of one of the commercials of them talking about Big Tobacco executives and companies going into psychiatric facilities and actually giving away free cigarettes to get them addicted, because those patients usually have some kind of mental health problems, whether it's depression, anxiety, as you can see on the advertisement on the right, smoking away anxiety. So that was one of the things that they advertised, was smoking will help with your anxiety, smoking will help with your depression. And that's how they marketed it. And they took advantage of these people. Big Tobacco once proposed a brand targeting younger smokers called Kestrel. And the Kestrel, the reason they got their name Kestrel, is a bird that preys on small rodents. So if you think of it in a bigger picture, is if a Kestrel is a bird that preys on small rodents, why exactly would they name their tobacco? Their brand targeting younger smokers is a bird that preys on small rodents. So they're admitting that, yep, we're the Big Tobacco company. We're going to prey on the younger generation, just like the Kestrel preys on small rodents. So again, taking advantage of that population, right? And the fact that they admitted to calling it Kestrel is crazy to me. Moving forward, in the 50s, Big Tobacco went into low-income neighborhoods and housing projects to hand out free cigarettes. So we kind of touched base on that before about how they would hand out to the homeless. And now this is going into low-income neighborhoods and housing projects to hand out free cigarettes once again. Some went to children as young as 9 years old. So that was a little bit different back then in the 50s. It's a long time ago. Rules and regulations and everything was a little bit different, but some went to children as young as 9 years old. So again, taking advantage of someone. Can you imagine being handed cigarettes at 9 years old? They probably don't even necessarily know what they are, but they might think it's cool because maybe their parents smoke or they're told that it's okay. Again, then becoming addicted for life possibly, which means more money in their pockets. Marketing to minorities in impoverished areas. So Big Tobacco has called African Americans a market priority. So again, taking advantage of that specific population. I don't know if you guys know this, but African Americans, typically it's been proven that the majority of them smoke menthol cigarettes. So at one point, the tobacco companies would go into these neighborhoods with predominantly African American population and hand out free menthol cigarettes to get them addicted to menthol, which is now shown that it actually worked because the majority of African Americans smoke menthol cigarettes. In the 80s, a major tobacco company paid people to go into inner city neighborhoods to hand out free samples of menthol cigarettes. So just like I said, in efforts to acquire African Americans as customers. A study in 2013 found that certain products are cheaper in neighborhoods with a higher density of Black residents. Tobacco companies actually went to court to fight for their right to keep tobacco advertising near schools, and they actually won. That's changed a little bit. You are still allowed to advertise near schools, but it's got to be, I believe, 100 yards away from a school, or 100 feet from a school. And there's certain advertisements that can't be placed in the windows for kids to see. So if you're walking to school every day by a gas station, if that gas station is remotely close to a school, they're supposed to have different advertising techniques than a normal gas station further away would have. And then low-income neighborhoods are more likely to have tobacco retailers near schools than other neighborhoods. So this is the Truth Initiative campaign. I told you this is one of the commercials that they show talking about psychiatric patients and how they were handed out free cigarettes as well. Some of you may have seen this on TV. All right, so some of you guys, have any of you guys seen that? Raise your hand if you've seen that on TV. Couple of you? I see someone with their hand raised. Yeah, so I've seen that commercial on TV before. And like I said, we do a lot of work with the Truth Initiative. You can actually go to their website, and they have a ton of videos just like that because they make commercials all the time. And there's some that don't make necessarily national television, but they still have them on their website. There's a lot of stuff on the Truth Initiative. It's actually a pretty neat website to visit. But again, just emphasizing how they advertise to specific subpopulations and how they were targeted, right? And it worked. So now we get into a little bit some of the pictures of the advertising that you guys may see. Electronic cigarettes, again, we talked about that and how it's right above all your candies, right? So people might go up to buy Reese's candy bar or some gum, and right above that is your electronic cigarettes advertisement. On the left, you'll see ice cream on the bottom. Right above that is all the different types of flavors of e-cigarettes. Now that's a little bit different. That's an older picture. When flavors and everything weren't regulated by the FDA. That's obviously changed over the last year. But again, showing you what they did do and holding them accountable for what they did is why we don't get rid of these pictures, even though they're a little bit older and things have changed. That is showing how kids became addicted because they would advertise it right above your ice cream. So a little kid might go up to get their ice cream, look up and see the e-cigarette flavors right above that. And then over on the right, exact same thing. Why would they ever place teeny ties right next to their tobacco product? Because who's going to buy teeny ties? Kids, right? Not necessarily your grandparents or anything like that. That's strategic advertising by your Marlboro or by your major tobacco companies to put them right next to each other. And then if you don't believe me, here's some more examples of it. Your Hershey's Cookies and Cream Candy Bar looks just like the Black and Mild tobacco cigar. Also with the Orbs Mellow, which is they're kind of like poppable tobacco with your Tic Tac oranges. A couple more. Again, your Black and Mild with Hershey's Milk Chocolate. Black and Mild Wine, a little bit different look on the cover of it. And then Hershey's Special Dark. Orb strip or Camel Strips with your Cool Mint Listerine strips. Those will look a little bit different now than what they used to, but that's what they first came out with. Orbs Fresh, Tic Tac Wintergreen. Again, the Orbs again with the Tic Tac Orange. Husky Long Cut Tobacco with your Icebreaker Mints. Husky again, the green kind, a different flavor. Also the same thing as the spearmint. So they do this on purpose to try to make it similarities on one of the products that you would normally buy anyways. Camel cigarettes with your Stride gum, very similar packaging and very similar color scheme. Camel Crush, Stride gum, Marlboro, those are pouches. I'm not even sure what Smint are. I've never actually seen those, but again, very similar to the color scheme of Marlboro. And then Camel Snus with Altoid Small. So that tin can, again, the same idea, same color scheme. But that's all I have today. I know I went through it a little quick because I wanted to try to make sure we had time to play our Kahoot game, which is a movie quiz, and it's talking about incidences and smoking. So this is some of my information. If you guys have any questions, if we don't have time for them today, you can always email me. Your teacher also has my email, and you can give a call to the office. If you have any questions like that, I'll be happy to help you guys. So we'll go forward with Kahoot. Let me just make sure. All right, so you'll have to get onto your cell phones or your laptop. So the PIN number should be loading up right now, right there. Can you guys see the PIN number? Thumbs up if you can see it. No? Should be right at the top here. 8497721. Your screen sharing is paused. Hold on one second. I think I gotta switch the screen share. Let's see. There we go. How about that? All right. So the PIN number is right there at the top, 8497721. A couple of you are already in. Again, this will only be about, I think there's 8 or 10 questions, and it's regarding movies and incidences of smoking within those movies. A lot of movies that you guys have probably seen, hopefully. Most of you guys have played Kahoot before, I think. So basically what you're doing is you get points for answering quicker, and you also get points for obviously answering the right question. But if someone were to answer the right question, if you answer it faster than somebody else, you'll actually get more points. Is everybody in? I've got 15 so far. How many are there of you? All good? All right, we're gonna get started. So here we go. Smoking in movies. How many smoking incidents in The Master of Disguise? Somebody hasn't answered yet. That's all right. Timer will get you. All right. So 23 was the correct answer. And 4 of you got that right. Good work. Some of you guessed 22. That's tough luck right there. Only 1 off. Next one. So you can see the leaders here. All right. Here we go. In Mr. Deeds. Adam Sandler movie. And a smoking incident is kind of when they're on screen smoking, or maybe there's a pipe on screen or cigarettes on screen, anything kind of related to smoking that you might see on the screen as a smoking incident. Somebody must not be playing. So the correct answer is 64. So Mr. Deeds actually has a lot of examples of it. Good job. Majority of you. Summer Girls in first place. How many smoking incidents in the Beast? This is the new version, not the cartoon version that I've seen when I was a kid. There we go. Now we got all 15. Oh, must be there's more. Correct answer is 0 in Beauty and the Beast. So actually the newer version has 0 incidences of smoking. It's a tricky one. All right. And Spider-Man. I believe this is the newer Spider-Man. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know there's a bunch of different Spider-Men, so. $33 is the correct answer. So 8 of you got that one right. Good job, the majority of that one. So Grace is got the streak going right now. She's over 1,000 in front, or just under 1,000, it looks like. One of these, I believe it might even be this next one. It's about Incredibles. I have to double check on it because I'm pretty sure the Incredibles doesn't have any incidences of smoking, but that's not the answer. So I will tell you that if it's Incredibles, the answer is not 0. So there's a little hint for you. I don't know if it's this one or not. Yep, it is this one. So how many incidences in the Incredibles? So I'll have to actually fix this one. The answer is not 0. So you got limited answers for this one. 22 is the correct answer. So the majority of you guys got that one right. I've actually done some research. I've watched this movie multiple times. I love The Incredibles. It's one of my favorite kids movies. It doesn't have incidences of smoking, but if you go onto the website where we get all of our research from, they say that there is, and I haven't quite figured out why. So that's why we have that question there. So
Edna smokes.
No, Edna does have that long. I think that's probably why they count it, because she never actually does smoke if you watch it. She has the long cigarette holder, which she uses to poke into the machine and all the numbers, but she doesn't actually smoke. So I'm guessing that is where they get it though. So you're probably right. So Grace is still in the lead by just about 1,000. Question 6, an anchorman. Correct answer is 103. So that's a little bit of an older movie. It even dates back. The movie itself is supposed to take place a little bit further back in time. So more incidences of smoking, a lot in that one. All right. Matthew is the highest climber right now, up 3 spots. 2 more questions left. Bad Moms Christmas. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this movie or not, but correct answer is 0. 2 of you got that one right. That was a tricky one, huh? All right. Uh-oh, now we've got it. It's going to be a barn burner between Addison and Grace, it looks like. Coming right down to the last question. See if anybody can take over first place. How about White Chicks? You might not have seen this movie. This is a little bit older. $59. So that one was pretty split, pretty evenly. So we'll see who our winner is. The podium. 3rd place was Allie. Good job, Allie. 2nd place was Addison Snell. Good job, Addison. And 1st place was Grace. Well done, you 3. And the rest of you. Runners up, Michaela and Sophie. All right, guys. Let me see if I can stop sharing. Oh, I see there's a bunch in the chat. All right. I hadn't been looking at the chat, so I'm sorry if you guys asked a question and throughout that I didn't see those. But that's all I have for you guys. I know it's just about 10 o'clock, just after. I enjoyed playing Kahoot with you guys. I hope you guys learned something between yesterday and today in the presentations, whether it was marketing or learning about e-cigarettes. I hope you learned something that you can take back with you guys. Thanks for being a great audience. And does anybody have any questions?
Remember to fill out that Google form, everyone.
Don't forget your Google form.